Okay, welcome to our second shir in the Kuzari. We are learning the philosopher's position. And I mentioned before, though I didn't answer, we didn't sort of talk about it, because we're going to talk about it more at length. Why did the king invite a philosopher first?
He had a dream.
Yeah, if you have a dream or dreams, I don't necessarily I don't get calls in the middle of the night, excuse me, Mr. Philosopher, can you help me? I have a question, what should I do? Usually people who have dreams call who?
Rabbi.
Yeah, priests, whatever it is. Why is he calling a philosopher? So that question is on the table. We should try to figure this out. There's a very easy answer. That if you knew it, it'd be easy. But if you don't, then you don't. It's not easy. People always say to me, you ask trick questions. I say it's only a trick if you don't know the answer. If you know the answer, it's not a trick.
But you try and trick us, because someone will say the right answer, and then you'll do this whole but la 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 la, and then you'll be and then you'll say the answer, and the person will be like, I just said that. I know.
Okay, fine. Let's continue. So the philosopher, if you remember, said God doesn't have intention. So you think that God wants you to do something or to change your actions, but God doesn't want anything because God is not lacking anything. When you want something, it means you don't have it. When a person wants money, it means that they don't have it. You say, but the guy has money, he wants more of it, so it means that he doesn't have enough of it. Still has a lack. Every want is a lack. Do we all agree with that?
Well,
Can you give me an answer?
You have something already, but you want more of it. You're lacking more of it.
Yeah. Still a lack. Does God lack anything?
No.
I need a little more emphatic by everybody. No, right? God doesn't lack anything. He has everything. And so he doesn't want. So says the philosopher to the king, I don't know about this business of your dream. You must be mistaken. It doesn't work that way. And he says, then he just starts to talk about the causes of the universe, right? Says God operates by necessity, and God really didn't create you. He didn't really have anything doesn't have anything to do with you. He doesn't even know you. You're just a little pimple in his universe. Big deal. It's like the difference between you and a grain of sand is you're this species and a grain of sand is in that category, but he doesn't know you. Doesn't know you. So don't worry about this. It's not how it works. And then he starts talking to him on a concept that we began talking about, the active intellect. Do you remember? So the active intellect is, he explains, is a type of light, which means that it's not corporeal. It's a big word. It's a very good word, corporeal. Corporeal means bodily. Something that's made out of body is body in the Greek, in the Latin is corpus, hence Corpus Christi, right? Do you know there's a congregation in Corpus Christi, like Christian body, the body of the Messiah, Jewish community. That's what the Corpus Christi means, the body of the Messiah. So it's a beautiful, if you know Latin, then a lot of these things make a lot of sense. So corporeal, it's something that is not corporeal, that our mind and this entity connect. And I gave you the metaphor of we are the modem and we connect to the server, right, that has all forms of knowledge, and we just download information. Okay? The type of information that we download from the Sechel HaPoel, from the active intellect, at this stage, we are talking about only universal truths. Things that are true everywhere and all the time. That's what we mean by universal. So So can you give me an example of universal truth?
Kicking the cats is bad.
No,
Don't murder.
no, that might not be universal.
Yeah, you said it before.
No? Are you trying to bring it from another shear to this year?
That's the only thing I can think.
No, but that might not be. You might
So
say
this is a table. Is that universal truth?
no,
It's not universal truth.
no. But you could say universal truth is tables are entities that have X amount of legs that are used to put stuff on that, that type. Or 1 + 1 = 2.
It's a universal truth.
That's everywhere. But what if you take a man and a woman, but you're not adding them together?
So is
Because
it? Sorry.
to get a baby, that's not what 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. No, 1 + 1 is 2. The sum of the interior angles of a right triangle equals 180. That's everywhere in every right triangle. I don't care how you draw it. Right? What?
C over D is pi.
That's right. Universal truth. MC, what is that? E = MC squared. Those type of things you can download from the active intellect. Okay? That's what he says. So they become one, and then you download the information. Yes?
I don't think this makes sense.
Okay?
I'm trying to think. Can something be turned into a universal truth?
Yes.
Like don't murder. Like you have so many nations throughout the history of the world where
You're in the
murder
realm of
was-
morality.
Okay.
Morality is a different realm. That's a different realm that I don't want at this stage of the conversation, because this is going to be dealt with later on in the Kuzari. So there's no reason to get into morality. But I would say this. Depends how you defined murder. If we define murder as an unsanctioned killing or illegal killing, then okay, then I guess we could always agree that murder is always wrong. Why? Because we have a killing that is not wrong, is not called murder.
Right.
But the philosophers usually think about this as a realm of mathematics and logic, right? And one of the things that people, they say, this is the basic truth that people must have in order to begin learning, is that a statement cannot be both true and false at the same time. So Bernie is in the room, can either be true or false right now. They can't be both. Either he's in the room or he's not in the room, but not both. Or you could say, all men are mortal. Either that statement is true or that statement is false, but can't be both true and false at the same time.
What about every law has an exception? Because what about that law? Like, isn't that a rule? There's an exception to every rule. Isn't that a rule? So what about that rule? Is that
Well, there you would say true, wouldn't you?
But does that
And because even if you say every rule has an exception, that's interesting. I don't know what to do with that in terms of, it's not a question of true and false. Because it's kind of like to say everything is relative. Like, really? Even that is relative? So let's leave that category alone for now. It's a good question. I have to think about that a little bit. But the idea is that when you make a statement, right, the earth is at the center of the universe. Either that is true or that's false. It can't be both. Okay? Either you like peanut butter or you don't. So So he says, then the faculties of the human being, right? He talks about the mental faculties. We have several of them. He talks about them later, but I'll just talk about one of them, two of them. How do we know what we know? How do you know that today is Monday?
It's always been that way since I.
Yesterday?
Yesterday was Sunday.
Yesterday was Sunday.
And Monday comes after Sunday.
How do you know that?
Because that is the rule that's accepted in this country.
No, it's accepted like all around.
I
the
don't know.
world.
I'm trying to choose my words very carefully, and I'm very scared about.
Because somebody told you, and they all hold.
Isn't there
that
like
it's Monday? You can
Yeah.
hold that it's Tuesday.
And you have, yeah, you can. I mean, it's arbitrary in a sense. But the idea is how, when you start thinking, how do I know what I know? A lot of it, how do you know that peanut butter tastes like this if you never tasted it? You don't until you taste it. That is, there are some things that we have to actually sense with our senses. We have to either touch or see or smell or hear, right? That's a category of information that is coming into us from the outside, correct? So though the senses send sensory data into our mind, into what in medieval philosophy, Greek and medieval philosophy, it's called the common sense, okay? It is just a gathering location of all that information. And that information is stored there in a faculty called memory, right? And then whenever you can recall any piece of information, and you'll see its image in your imagination. I'll give you an example. So those of you at home, you can play along also. Everybody close their eyes so that you're not seeing this. Imagine a hippo wearing a pink tutu, dancing to heavy metal music while slamming her head into a table. Can you see it? Can you see it? How?
Well, doing what?
Because I can.
Slamming her head into a table.
Because I know what a hippo looks
Her.
like. I know what a tutu.
Okay, you can open your eyes now. You don't have to describe this. I see it. Yes.
And I know what all these three separate things look like. So my mind.
More
can
than
put
that,
them together.
sound.
Oh, I didn't hear the music.
The heavy
I
metal.
just saw the movement.
all of a sudden I just had
I
a
don't really
hippo
know.
in a pink dress going like this at first, and
That-
then you mentioned the table and it just appeared. It was just like
Yeah.
I know what these concepts are, so I can try and put them together in my head.
Well, how do you know these concepts? Because you experience them. You know what a table, but with the table that she hit her head, was it exactly like this table?
No,
No, it was a different table.
Bergen.
Oh, you see? Why burgundy? Where did you get that from? So does it mean I've never seen a burgundy table? No, but you've seen color. So you can always put anything. So in a sense, the imagination is a very, very useful tool to have. Problem is, it's not very reliable. Why? Because it could put together any pieces of experiences together with any other piece without a problem. Like a pink wearing dress, tutu, hippo, dancing to, metal music, hitting her head against the table. You could easily, I could tell you, could you imagine, close your eyes, we'll do this again. Could you imagine a dragon with polka dots, right? Smoking a cigarette while singing Frank Sinatra songs? Yeah, right? You could see that. I did it my way. We all have our own Frank Sinatra song. You can do it. How come you can do it?
I've seen a pink polka dotted
Dragon before. Oh, I
No,
didn't.
in like a cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget what cartoon it was.
Okay, then please don't share with us.
So this is all stuff you can you experience, and then your imagination. So what does Monday? What does that go into? Like how do you know it's Monday? What category?
No, I'm giving you in the category. There are categories that you experience through sense perception,
Okay.
and those go in the imagination. There are some categories that you receive, like Isaac said, because culturally you are told,
Oh, okay.
and you accept it because there's no reason to doubt that it's Monday, is there?
There's no purpose.
No.
Let's say today is really Thursday, but does it matter?
Just
Yes.
compared to Shabbos.
Right. Then that would be a big nafkami. But let's say it wasn't an issue.
No.
Then we have
Even if it
if
was.
everybody holds it, it's Monday, or just
that. Yeah.
because if
But
if I
you
hold
knew the
Monday-
MS. Everybody holds it's Monday, but you know because you did not fall asleep. You know, really, today is already Tuesday. They think it's Monday, but it's not. It's Tuesday. Because when they move the clocks back, they keep messing this up, and it's been thousands of years of an hour now. It's not true. But let's say, and it really is Tuesday.
If everyone holds by, then no.
Like, it matters, but like, it doesn't. Like, you're not going to accomplish anything.
As long as there's no Shabbos. Yeah, that's true. That's a good. Okay.
Even with Shabbos, we have the tradition that if we hold by this, then we need to keep that, right?
Yes, but we hold that we know when Shabbos is. Because Shabbos has been kept. Right? When the Torah was given, they're like, you have to keep Shabbos. So they're like, okay, what day of the week is this? Shabbos. No, I mean, This is why in English, it's hard to know the days of the week compared to Shabbos. But in Hebrew, it isn't, because it's first day, second day, third day, fourth day. So it's like, when's Shabbos? I don't know. What's the day? Fourth day. So when's Shabbos? If today is the fourth day, it's just add 3 more days. But if you say it's Tuesday, when's Shabbos? Then you're like, I don't know. What's the relation of Tuesday to Saturday? Because the English names is based on Nordic deities, right? So Tia is one of the deities of the Nordic religion. So that's why Thor, right? You've seen the movie Thursday. It's Thursday. And Frigga is, another Friday. Then Saturday is Saturn.
I feel like my whole life's been revolved around Avodah Zarah now.
Yeah. Right? Is this new to you?
Yes.
Okay. Do tshuva. You have tachnun in your... No. What?
What is wrong with you?
No, the Rambam says tshuva is all the time.
No, it's this.
Now it's in. Tshuva's out. Okay, fine.
That's true.
Okay, so the imagination then is able to create an image. Now, how did this image become a universal truth? That's what I'm trying to explain, right? So your memory is stored many, many, many images of all sorts of things. And your rational faculty, in Hebrew they call it the sechel, your intellect is able, this is the English term, intellect, is able to draw from all of those instantiations of a triangle the definition or the universal concept of what is a triangle. So if you close your eyes and start running through different types of dogs in your mind, just keep running types of dogs. Boom, 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 3-legged dogs, a dog that's 2 legs with wheels behind, no tail. I know, but it's so sad. With a tail, without a tail, clipped ears, no ears, right? 1 eye, no eye, with tooth, no tooth, cleft, no cleft. You can see all these images, tall, Dane, Great Dane, whatever it is, poodle, chihuahua. Tachlis, what is a dog? Do you know what is a dog? There is something that all of them have in common, right? The same thing with pictures of human beings. Go through, what is a human being? So there's heavy, there's short, there's fat, there's skinny, there's this, there's that, there's, this colored skin, that colored skin, all sorts of, but one-legged, no-legged, no legs, no arms, comatose, all of them we would say are human beings. What do they have in common? That is what the role of the intellect. That's how the intellect can do it. Okay? So that's how you can take things that are in the memory, in the imagination, and move up. And discover a universal truth on your own. So that's sort of, I'm teaching you this. I will come to contradict this, because it's not how it works. The mechanism doesn't work this way. But I'm just giving you, I want to just sort of keep moving. I don't want to spend, it's not a seminar on epistemology. That is how we know what we know. But I wanted to give you just enough to understand that how you can get to an abstract, a universal truth from sensory data. But the mechanism for how it works is a little different than I explained to you now. But I'm aware of it. And if you're going to watch throughout all this, I will show you later on how it really works. I just don't want to spend too much making, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. It doesn't really matter in the whole. Because Tachlis, the Kuzari, is not about how we know what we know. Okay. So he says that the intellect connects to the active intellect, our human intellect, and that is how it becomes actualized. So it starts to think, abstract thoughts. And when a person reaches to this level, they achieved both intellectual perfection, because they could think abstract thoughts, very complicated abstract thoughts. They could also think and deal with practical matters, and they're moral, and they have perfection of the body. Okay? Because all of this is tied one to another. And then he says, this level of experience is the ultimate goal for a perfect human being, to be able to connect to the active intellect and live a life without any doubt. That's really the goal. The philosopher says, the goal of every perfected human being is to reach a level that they connect to the active intellect and they know all the universal truths and they have no doubts about reality. They know everything. They don't know everything in terms of the details, of the particulars, but the universal truths. Right? If you tell him, a parallelogram, what is it? He'll give you a boom, here's the definition. How do you define the area of a circle? He'll tell you. Right? I'm just giving you geometric examples, but it could be also in what moves the stars. Metaphysics, physics. All of those things he would know. So that's how he says. And he says it is as if he becomes angelic, malach. Right? So you see that the philosopher uses language that we would consider angels. Philosophy doesn't talk angels. Angels, that's religion. So the philosophers in the Middle Ages used the language of religion. But they had different meanings for the terms that they were using. So they said he becomes like an angel. So you say like an angel with with wings, and then with a little bow and arrow that, don't you know, Cupid? So he says he would reach a level of the active intellect, which is what? That he is able to transcend his body. He is able to transcend his body because really, when a person connects to the active intellect, he has sort of an out-of-body experience. And again, you would say, but this is philosophy. What are you talking about? You're talking about out-of-body experience? Meditation? Are you talking about meditating? Are you talking about davening? Hey, whoa, we don't use these type of words. We use the terms of, spiritual thinking, all sorts. But they're talking about this very, very similar things. And so you realize that philosophy in the Middle Ages, at least in the 12th century, was a type of religion that was competing with Christianity and Islam against Judaism. That's why the king brings the philosopher first. Because that's the big battle that the Kuzari is dealing with. The temptation of philosophy for young minds. That they would leave Judaism and become this, because he's promising them everything that religion promises them. Out-of-body experience, you become an angel, you connect to the active intellect, there's, God, and God causes things. Right? He uses all the language that you would say, well, that's
There's
not
no
like...
reward and punishment?
No. The only reward and punishment is that either you achieve perfection or you don't. If you don't achieve perfection, then you don't. Not only difference. It's not the only difference. There's lots of other differences. But this is how the philosopher is presenting it. So the philosopher then says, don't forget that the active intellect is an angel that is lower than the angel of the moon. And you're like, what? Angel of the moon? We'll get there. What?
The active intellect is an angel lower than them.
Yes. just lower than the moon. Yes, it is the intelligence, the server that is in charge of the earth. There's a server for the moon, there's a server for the next planet, and then the next planet. Each one has a server. You ask why?
This made sense to people?
Yes. I'll tell you how.
That makes no sense in my head.
I'll tell you. You have a body, the earth. You have the moon. The moon is moving, isn't it? Around the earth. What is causing it to move? What?
Yeah, it's gravity.
Gravity. Prove gravity. No. That's not a proof of gravity.
I don't know how I need to talk
They
to
can't
Rabbi
prove
got
gravity.
me.
They can't prove gravity.
They can prove anything, and then they can disprove anything as well. Like philosophers,
No.
that's what
Gravity
they
is something
do.
that hasn't been proven.
It is an assumption we make. But
So,
in
But why? If-
medieval
if we
physics,
call- if
time
we-
out. Medieval physics, they haven't, remember, Newton was the one that discovered gravity. Newton, remember? Under the tree, you're British, kind of.
okay,
And because usually argue, no, I'm not, I'm.
depends who's asking. If the British people, I say I'm not. If the Israelis, I say I'm British.
Okay.
But how come we can all decide that today is Monday, but we can't all decide that there's this force called gravity?
Well, because they didn't all decide that there is a force called gravity. They had a different explanation for it. The explanation was that there is certain objects, certain elements have different natures. There are 4 elements:
Mm-hmm.
water, fire, earth, and air or wind. Okay? Water goes down, earth goes down, fire goes up, and air goes up. So when you have something that you're holding and you're dropping it and it's going down, the philosopher would say, what's the question? Well, something is pulling it down to the ground. No, it isn't. It has a natural tendency because it's made out of primarily X, Y, and Z to be pulled down. So the question is, how do objects move? Because it looks like this isn't moving. It only moves when there's something exerting force on it.
But that's what it's moving relative to.
There is no relative. They did not know about inertia. Why? Because when they would drop something, it drops straight. It didn't drop over here.
Right.
If you're moving, then it should. And we're like, we're not moving. So those are questions that you're asking in terms of contemporary physics. Aristotelian physics is what we would call common sense physics.
Okay.
It appears that the earth is not moving, because it's not. I'm here, the book's here. If we're moving how many miles per second, this thing should be flying off, but we're not. Right?
They're trying to say like if gravity like existed, that should like fire and
No, they had a different
go
explanation
down
for why.
also?
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I know. They're not dumb. They're not dumb. It's so the moon is moving, the stars are moving, the planets are moving, right? But do objects move by themselves?
No.
Something has to move them. Right? What is moving them?
So this being, some sort of
A force. A force. So what moves us? I ask you this question.
music.
No, what causes you to move? What is moving? The fact that you can do this.
Your brains.
Really? What's the difference between a dead person and an alive person that he can't do this? His brain is still there.
But it's not working.
Why isn't that? What happened?
He's dead.
He's missing his battery.
Battery.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
not
so-
something physical, so I can't prove it to you.
Ah. That's what they were saying.
Before you start
In the same way that allows us to move, and animals to move in different directions, the same principle that there needs to be something like that to allow the planets to move. So the Platonists and the Neoplatonists called them souls, just because that's what moves human beings. And the Aristotelians called them schalim, intellect, or angels. But they're still talking about the same thing, although they're using different names. They're talking about that there is a principle of motion that is moving these planets. And how do we describe what's the principle of motion that we use? We say there was a bang to cause the expansion, and then there was gravity that starts pulling on everything, and so hence everything is moving. That's it. So this is what he says. So once the soul of a human being becomes perfected, and השכל הוא הפועל דבר אחד, and his intellect is what causes him, he acts everything, it connects to the sechel הפועל, then he will not experience the death of his body and his faculties, because he and the active intellect become one. So essentially what this funky long sentence means is that the philosopher says that we can achieve immortality. We can become immortal by studying universal truths. We study philosophy, we become immortal. How? By connecting to the active intellect. And our intellect and that intellect become one, and our body dies, and we are immortal. If that's not religious language, I don't know what is. I mean, just think like the king is listening to this, like, how are you different from the other folks? Which I haven't heard yet, but I will in a minute. So that's what he says. He says, because he becomes like this, he becomes like Hermes and Asclepius and Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, and you become one. What type of immortality do you have if you reach this level?
Finite.
Finite. What does that mean?
Something that can exist but then can't exist. Then it can disappear.
What?
I don't know.
It's not physical because the body's dead.
Body's gone.
Right.
But you join on to something else, you said. You join on to the...
And what about what happens to you? You!
You
I don't
become,
know, you become
part
of
of
it. So you're lost.
Ah,
That's it.
beautiful. What the philosophers are telling you, you can get immortality. Like, really? I can become immortal? Yes, you become like one of all. But what happens about me? No, don't. That's for, for little kids. To you. You're going to be part of the great universe. And that's it. In a sense, if you look at your intellect or your life as a file on a computer full of universal truths, that file gets dropped into the server, and that's it. But what about me? You were just hardware. What counts is the software, not the hardware. No individuated immortality. Okay? Why can't you have an individuated immortality? I don't know that you know this. I mean, I wrote a book on this, so I know. I have a whole chapter on this. But it's a very interesting thing. What makes you different than me? Okay, I'm better looking. Fine. You at home don't know that, but what's the difference? You have a soul, I have a soul. You have a human soul, I have a human soul. What's the difference?
The body.
The body. We have different bodies. So when you remove the body, what happens to the souls? What differentiates one from another?
Intellect.
Okay, but no. So if you have intellect, so you have an intellect and I have an intellect.
Right. You know more than I do.
So that's the Rabbi. You gave an answer of one of the more important philosophers in the 14th century, and we'll leave with the Rabbi, and we'll continue tomorrow. So very good. We'll continue tomorrow.